All right, let's talk everything you need to know about a classic camera, the Leica M2. Some people asked me to make a video on the Leica M2 since there's not many videos out there about this camera. So let's take a look at the Leica M2. At the intersection of deep-rooted history and a reputation of quality, you find this camera, the Leica M2. Since its introduction around 1957, the Leica M2 rangefinder has been an icon in the world of photography. Today, we'll explore the legacy of the camera, its iconic design, and how even today it continues to be used by photographers worldwide. Most importantly, should you buy one? The Leica M2 just came after the first Leica M, the Leica M3. The M2 was introduced as a more affordable and simplified alternative to the M3, but also came with some improvements over the M3. But we'll talk about that later in the video. Designed by Leica engineers to meet the needs of photojournalists and professionals, the M2 quickly gained a reputation for its reliability, precision, and compact form. Photographers like Henri Cartier-Bresson and Gary Winogrand have been past users of the M2. Its quiet shutter makes it a choice for candid street photography, enabling photographers to blend into their surroundings and capture life as it happens, not affecting the moment before them. When you hold in your hand an M2, you can feel what your senses, what photographers felt when they went out on a shoot. That legacy for many of us we find inspiring, filling us with creative energy to get out and make something ours. By the way, that is something common among many of the models in the Leica M camera family. The M2 was produced from 1957 to 1967, but some will say it ended in 1968 or 1970. It was made in both Germany and Canada. The biggest difference between the M2 and the earlier M3 was in the viewfinder. The M2 had frame lines for the 35, 50, and 90 millimeters, whereas the M3 had frame lines only for 50, 90, and 135. So if you're a 35 millimeter focal length shooter, you want to avoid the M3 and look at the M2. Another difference lies with the self-timer mechanism. Serial numbers 949101 through 949400, only a few had self-timers, mainly the later models. Now with serial numbers greater than 1004151, all had self-timer mechanisms included. If you want a self-timer in a model that doesn't have one, you can get this aftermarket screw-in shutter release like this Wells model. They can be bought on eBay for around $50. Early M2s will have a button to let you rewind the film, where the newer series will have a lever. Now with the overall handling of the M2, it feels solid and the mechanical movements feel precision-like. Adding to the solid feel is due to the fact the camera is made with no plastic, built to last. As these cameras age, they are prone to the shutter speeds becoming inaccurate. This is due to the spring tension tolerances changing over time and also other variables in the shutter mechanism. You'll want to find a technician to do a CLA, or it's called a clean, lube, and adjust, or an overhaul of the camera. The technician will calibrate your shutter speeds to be within tolerance again. Here's the shutter in action. The shutter speeds you can select range from 1 second to 1/1000th of a second. There's also a bulb mode where you can use a mechanical shutter release to control the shutter timing yourself. Oh, and on that topic, a mechanical shutter release cable, like this one, is a must-have with this camera. On the back door of the camera, you'll find this dial. Many people are unfamiliar with Leica, want to know what this thing is. It's just a basic exposure setting guide. I set it myself to remind me of what ISO speed film I loaded into the camera. There's nothing electronic in the M2, so this dial doesn't do anything as far as your exposure is concerned, and mechanically speaking, it does nothing inside the camera. As for loading your film, you need to take out this take-up spool. Now take the end of the film leader and feed it into this slot. So you see the arrows appear like this. Then take your 35mm film canister and pull out the leader to stretch the film to span across the camera like this. Place the canister and take-up roll into the camera while feeding the film along the back of the shutter. You should see the sprockets through the holes and ready to grip the film. Once everything is in and lined up, then you can close the door and advance the film 3 times. Set your film counter to 1 and you're ready to go. Shooting with the M2 is an experience you can only feel when you do it yourself. Framing with the Brightline viewfinder Framelines is big, bright, and easy to view. Focus, like all Leica M cameras, is manual. This is where you align the rangefinder patch with a special window in the viewfinder. Once the 2 superimposed images line up, you're in focus. As for setting your exposure, the camera has no light meter, like all Leicas before the M5. So you're left with estimating your exposure or using an external light meter, like this original one of the M2's time. This is the Leica MR light meter. Overall, the user of the M2 will find the camera simple and unobtrusive. Nothing gets in your way, and everything on the camera is tactile. I used the M2 for over 2 years. It's been a great companion and it's become special to me. The Leica system has been such a profound feature in my photography life, I even had a Leica M2 tattooed on my arm, which you may have seen in my other videos. Okay, enough about me. The M2 can be had as low as $1,200 for a well-used one if you shop around. More expensive M2 models like the one in black paint will push that price tag up a bit. So can I recommend the M2? The answer is a big yes, but you need to know the simplicity of the camera along with its manual nature and the fact it doesn't have a light meter. This camera will take you back to a simpler time and get you in the moment. This is the pinnacle Leica manual photography experience you hear so much about out there. That's it for this video. If you like this review, please give it a like and subscribe. This channel cannot grow without your support. All right, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.